How do you flip over to something easier? Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of Note School TV, where every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time, we bring you the most amazing content as well as the most amazing guests. And I think we have proven that over almost 3 years now, guys. So today is no different, and we will bring our guest on in just a minute. But before we do, I want to ask you a few things. Number one, go ahead and like this episode. Go ahead now and hit that like button. And then follow that up by hitting the subscribe button there. Yes, if you have not already subscribed to Note School TV channel, please go ahead and do that. And then finally, hit that bell notification. Bing, boom, hit it right now so that you'll be notified every week before we go live every Wednesday at 11:05 Central Time. Also, keep those comments, questions coming, guys. Eddie and I love hearing from you. We love reading your comments and all of the things you send in. So please continue to do that. It means a lot to us. And if you would like to hear or learn more about what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. And we'd love to have a conversation with you. We'll talk a little more about that at the end of the show. So without any further ado, we're going to bring on, well, founder of Note School, all-around good guy, chief visionary officer of Note School, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm good. This is a view from my desk.
There you go. You get a little different view from you this week, man.
Yeah. Well, actually, normally when we film, it is in my office, but it's at a different section in my office. So today we've got some equipment off somewhere else. And so I said, well, you know what? I do a whole lot of GoToWebinar and Zoom meetings right here from this seat. And so, this is kind of from the corner office, the corner of the corner office. How about that?
For sure. Eddie, I'm a bit weird, right? And I was thinking, it was a couple days ago, and I was pondering. I said, we do Note School TV every week. We do Deal Labs 3 times a week, and all the other training. I'll bet we spend 1,000 hours a year doing training online virtually like this. It's crazy.
We do a lot of training. We do a lot of virtual master classes. We do 3-day classes. We do a lot of stuff. So this, I think we've adapted well to live stuff. We have our most high-end students.
Yeah.
There's part of what they get to join our membership, and that is called a office visit. And they're here with us, and they've been with us the last couple of days. And so it's cool to go hang out live with them and stuff. It's really fun. And we really kind of take them through the process. So it's pretty regimented event. So, well, Joe, we got a little news to talk about today. Apparently, it's been in the news a lot. I see it quoted and all kind of stuff. And so I thought your suggestion was timely. And let's talk about mortgage rates.
Well, we've got the mortgage rate predictions from U.S. News and World Reports and the chairman of Redfin and all of that. So let's look at them, Eddie. Yeah, they've been all over the news. And it's about what we would think, right? So Fannie Mae, I would say they're the biggest predictors, right, of rate forecasts for the rest of this year and then into 2024. And Eddie, I know that over the last week or so, we know that rates are north of hitting right on 7% as far as the regular rate. But if you look at the APR, they're in the 7.5 and above. But this is what Fannie Mae says.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, this is kind of what we've been saying. And of course, you have a whole list of them here. We'll just kind of lay them out. It'll be fair to say, let's average it.
Yep. Let's do
it.
Right.
So, like we're right about 6.5 to the end of the year.
Yep.
We're between 6.5 and 6 to 6.5 next year.
Yep.
I think it's interesting that Realtor.com, they were willing to nail it down, weren't they?
Yeah, I got a little laugh out of that one as well, right? They're just saying, yeah, it's well above 6%. Let's just call it that. And we'll be right? It's like being a weatherman in South Florida, Eddie.
You know, Joe, you and I were talking about this. We're not in any way giving people like a bad market prediction of where the market's going, right? What we are saying is that the negative are mortgage rates. The positives on the other side of the scale are lack of inventory, so forth and so on. And if we had low rates along with it, we would see crazy house prices.
We would.
What we see, though, is that we've got a balance right now. The rates, the negative of high rates, not negative for us. That's actually good for us.
That's right.
But the negative for high rates over traditional mortgage lending and the lack of loan production is what's drastically shifting the other side. So, Joe, good research on that. For those of you watching, you may want to get a screenshot of that, or we'll, maybe we'll just share that slide and everybody can download it off the YouTube field notes. And it's kind of about what we're thinking. I mean, there's nobody that's got there's not really a wild outlier.
No.
In all those predictions, and we're really looking at it for to the end of the year and of course into next year, and so and it does line up. I have some friends that pay a lot of money for analytics, analytics firms, and this does seem to line up with basically kind of what they're saying. Now I want to be clear about this, guys. When you get a mortgage, this is your note rate. This is not your effective rate. The APR, the effective rate you're paying, is between 100 and 150 basis points higher.
Eddie, I threw this in there. I didn't know we would get to it, but this is what the APRs are, right?
Yeah.
So, just so you can, a talking point there. So.
Yeah. So this is the real rate you're paying. The interest rate on your note does not include points and fees.
Yeah.
And so when you include the points and fees, as you can see, a 30-year fixed rate, 20% down in Texas with about a 750 credit score is 8% mortgage.
Yeah.
And FHA 7.8 right down the line. Look at that arm, Joe. That's really a heck of a rate on that arm, huh?
It is, and Eddie, and they're really pushing HELOCs right now, home equity line of credit, and the research I've done shows that they're at about 8.6 to just a tick under 9% on a HELOC, and people are jumping in on those things right now as well. So this is where we thrive in this atmosphere, right?
Yeah, we typically, our industry, the note industry overall, whether it's creative financing or buying notes, whether performing or non-performing, does really well in disruptive markets. And of course, a lot of our past 40 years have been in rate environments like this, or environments that we keep talking about with banking and stuff. We'll have the market update next week. We'll have a lot of information, a lot to cover there. Joe, we have a great guest.
We do have a great guest, and we've known him for quite a while now. So I'm excited to have him on.
He's a member of the family.
He is.
Yes, he's a member of the family.
Yeah, I was saying I met Justin in June of 2016 at the RIA in Indianapolis, and he never looked back, Eddie.
Well, you had a great intro. We'll talk about, as I interview with him, we'll talk about how that works. You guys welcome from Indianapolis, Indiana, our friend, Mr. Justin Bogard.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
We're good. We're good. I don't know if you've heard this, but it's kind of been a little hot down south.
I didn't know. I knew earlier this year.
They say we're going to break the record here in Texas for days over 105.
Oh, wow.
And by the way, today's going to add to that day. And so did yesterday, and so did the day before. Yeah, kind of that. So, no, welcome, Justin. We're glad you're here. We've always really been so impressed with you and not just your skill set in the business, but your work-life balance and the things that you've really focused on. And we're gonna really talk about that, kind of where you've been and where you're going.
All right. I'm going to jump off here. Justin, you and Eddie have a great time, and I'll see you at the end of the show.
All right, see you, Joe.
Okay.
So, Justin, I think there's some very interesting things I think our audience would find interesting. So when we met you, you were a traditional house buyer, wholesaler, house flipper, rehabber kind of guy, right? That's what you did.
Yeah, I was a dreamer. I thought that lifestyle was the lifestyle that I wanted to do and wanted to be and could manage it and do well in it. And so that's what happened before I got to note school.
All right. Well, tell me what was wrong with that.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se. I just think it wasn't for me. I found out pretty quickly that when I was investing in these homes and, knocking down these properties, so to speak, building them back up, organizing contractors, staying on budget, managing, many different contractors, it became a burdensome task for me. I was kind of a one-man operation. It was very difficult to GC my own jobs and do multiples at the same time. And then I didn't get contractors pinned down to where I could have, work go from contractor to the next job to the next job. I would have to kind of go through a couple contractors, depending on what sub they were. And so projects became more lengthy and they would cost more money. And ultimately I was losing money as well. And so it just became just this overload of work that I wasn't expecting to be more hands-on in the operation. And so when I heard about note investing and note school, I definitely jumped on the opportunity to learn more about it, to be just a little bit more passive or even very passive. And so that's kind of what got me into it.
All right. So I want to talk about that because that's a big transition. You had, owning every business, there's no fairy tale land.
Yeah.
Everything's perfect and yours wasn't perfect, but you kind of talk about the problems with fixing and flipping and rehabbing and all that kind of stuff. What were you looking for?
Well, I guess I didn't know at the time. It's kind of like when I went to college, I didn't even know what I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. I kept changing my major. And if I was still in college today, I'd probably still be changing my major. So I just think, Eddie, it just came down to, coming down to a grind on, can I sustain doing this type of work and being involved at this level with this type of real estate investing, or do I want to be more passive? And I still remember to this day, when I went to one of Joe's RIA classes that he mentioned, that he had a slide up there that showed, kind of the life cycle of a real estate investor, how they start off, doing maybe some bird dogging to wholesaling, to being a fix and flipper, to being a landlord. And then there's a guy pulling a wheelbarrow with a lot of cash behind it. And he's wearing a nice business suit and he has a briefcase. And I'm thinking okay, that's the guy that I want to be. So that visual stuck in my mind. It's still in there today. And that's what I aspire to be. And I want to be the bank. I want to be in control of deals. And the person I know that's in control of the deal is the guy that has the money.
Very interesting. People always evolve into, at the highest maturity level, people want to figure out how to be a bank.
Yeah.
It has happened in virtually every hard money lender started out as a rehabber.
Yeah.
And then they started doing the math and they're going, wait a minute, the guy that loaned me the money made as much money as I did. And he kind of made sure he got paid. And I didn't know if I was going to get paid.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I know this may be, contrary to what some people want to believe. We're just, after so many years, and as you just in the business, it's the truth. And so you kind of draw that conclusion. And there's another reason though that you really made a significant difference, and that is you needed some of your time back, and there was a really important reason that you did.
It's kind of two reasons, really.
They're
two little kids, two
little
daughters.
girls.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, I've got to go figure out something that I can be there when they need me there.
Right. Yeah, I've had the W-2 job. I've worked the hours, I've worked the extra hours on salary and not benefit from, what I get, what I feel I was fairly compensated. And also the time was even more of a factor for me. My daughters go to school, 8 to 9 in the morning, and they get off of school between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. And this lifestyle, that I'm here today allows me to be a lot more flexible with my schedule. So that's definitely something that I was trying to do, and I'm glad that I did it, and I'm glad that I'm able to do that today.
Justin, I think if we took a note school student that progresses with, let's say that they get to some audience that we have some engagement with them. Maybe it's a master class, or kind of like what you started with at the RIA, right? And then, or maybe they come to a 3-day, or maybe then they shine. Like we ask them, like, what is your number one? Like, what is it? If you could do anything in life, what would you want out of this? And consistently they say over and over, I want my time back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you wanted.
Yep. It's our most valuable commodity.
Now, those little girls have grown up. Now, how long have you been with? 7 years?
I've been in note school 7 years. That's right.
So those little girls have grown up a little bit since then.
They are. Yeah. Yeah. If you saw them then and see them now, you wouldn't think they were the same person.
Yeah. That's great. I know that you were a single parent. You made a significant, when you did it, Justin, it seemed really gutsy.
Oh, yes.
But when you look back, it doesn't seem gutsy at all, right? It just seemed like, why would you not have done it?
Yeah, I think any new endeavor, any new opportunity is definitely, there's risk to it, and there's uncertainty, right? But it's the fear of the unknown that kind of pushes me forward and makes me want to make it known and not be unknown. And so, but when your back's against the wall, so to speak, if you have nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, it kind of makes you even more driven to be successful and to continue to strive forward to make money. So I put myself in a position intentionally when I kind of fired my W-2 job and I got into real estate investing because I wanted to go full steam into this. I love real estate. I know you love real estate too, but there's a certain part of real estate I had to figure out that I really loved, and that was the finance part of it. So, being able to run numbers and look at deals from a spreadsheet and look at, vendors' pictures of properties was way easier than me, driving to the property, taking a look around, getting inside. It's just a totally different world and different lens to look at.
So I think there's a lot of your story and a lot of our audience's story. It may not be exactly the same. They may not have 2 little kids. They may not start out doing it full time. A lot of people are trying to figure out something to walk off their W-2 job. Not everybody. I've told you, I have a daughter that's a professional ballet dancer. She loves it. She wouldn't dream of doing anything else, but yet she does it part-time. And I have a son that's a fireman and paramedic. And he would never think of leaving the fire department. That's his calling.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think it's cool though. But you did this full time. You started out with, I need to be home for my girls, whatever. Let's talk about a little bit of your journey, like how you progressed through different areas of the note business.
Well, having that real estate investing experience, what I call the standard world of real estate investing, it definitely helped, and it gave me some confidence to move forward. I thought it was going to be an easy transition to go from a real estate investor to a real estate note investor. And for all intents and purposes, it was, but it was a different level of due diligence that you had to underwrite deals. So I started off pretty much, I bought a deal for myself, a non-performing and a performing loan. And then I ran out of money, right? Because in this business, you got to have some capital behind you or have your own capital to kind of move forward. And you can win both ways. And so when I didn't have a lot of capital behind me, I kind of had to have a hustle factor, and it's something that you talk about often in our classes. So I would find great deals. and I would find people that need great deals, and I'd kind of put the two together. So we call that kind of note brokering or master brokering. And so I got really good at that, and I would make more transactional money. So I would be similar to like a wholesaler would do, find a property and sell it to somebody under contract, and fix and flipper would get it from them. And then I was able to kind of generate several of those transactions and then start buying my own deals with it. And then that kind of cascaded for a year or two, getting heavily into seller financing paper as opposed to buying bank paper. And that's kind of was my first phase in learning about being the note broker and kind of the hustle guy in the deal until I started establishing my own money.
Well, and once again, people, you don't have to broker.
Yeah.
You can buy a note and sell a partial. You know, we call it recapitalizing. Most people that we train have money. They're not flat broke, right? But we all get flat broke soon enough if we just buy enough notes.
Yep.
And in order to do that, but listen, your bank loans you somebody else's money, right?
Yep.
My bank loans somebody. My bank takes somebody else's money and loans it to me, or takes my money and loans it to somebody else. So you can do that exact idea with the note business, and so you became really good at that. You've been on stage, literally at like Note Expo, telling stories about how you did that. And you also made a lot of other people happy because they were passive investors.
Yeah.
And you could go do things that they couldn't do or didn't want to do.
Right.
So you found a win-win with that.
I did. And I've kind of grown up in my own note investing life cycle as well. So I need to perfect my craft, right? So I need to learn different techniques. You mentioned hypothecations, you mentioned partials. So that was kind of my next journey, was to recapitalize on my current investments so I could extend my bankroll even further and maybe 5-10x what I had on me. And so I learned those techniques, and that was kind of the next venture in my stage of my note investing life cycle for a few years.
One of the things, Justin, that I find myself talking to people a lot, people that have been landlords. We have more Note School members converting existing rentals to seller finance notes right now than I've ever seen.
Yeah.
We're definitely entered in a note cycle. You can get a bigger payment if you own or finance than you do if you rent. It's just because the market is what it is. Those high interest rates we were talking about has made a market condition. And so, and you've been around a lot of landlords. You know clearly all the biggest house buyers in Indianapolis. You and I mutually know all those guys pretty well, and we're friends with all of them. I tell people that you can own 10 notes for one rental. You think that's an exaggeration?
I don't think that's exaggeration.
That's a whole lot more notes that produce cash flow than it takes the work of owning rentals. Just even though people say I'm buying rentals for long-term wealth, and it is long-term wealth. Mm-hmm. But right now, I think we've entered a cycle in the note period. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. You're out there digging for inventory all the time, just like us. I believe that because of the banking situation, really triggered by high interest rates and triggered by probably some aggressive lending on the commercial side, both, people with businesses as well as commercial real estate. Now all of a sudden, you don't have that guy that has the options of going to the bank and taking his notes like you did 2 years ago, right?
Yep.
So talk about that. Like now all of a sudden you got people following you when you might have felt like at some point you were chasing them, right?
Right. Yeah. So because of my locally and kind of regionally in this area, because of my branding, there's not too many of us that are able to brand and market what we do as a real estate entrepreneur. And so I'm more well known in the area. So I had the luxury of getting, some of those phone calls from those higher end guys, or those, 1 to 4 owner landlords. And so they will, ask me questions about seller financing and how to create them. And which I'm glad that they do, because they don't know, obviously, the best practices to utilize what they have in front of them to make great opportunities for them to continue to make long-term cash flow, or to be able to sell or hypothecate their paper as well.
Well, I think that in your case, you've been kind of boots on the ground. A lot of people that come to Note School, like, we'll help them find inventory. They become members of Note School, and we're pretty connected, and we kind of make that happen. But you've kind of become a guy on the ground, a recognizable face in the market. And now you've come full circle. Like, now you have a capital fund, you're raising money from passive investors, you're buying notes from real estate investors that need to liquidate and recapitalize their business. Yeah. And you're the guy in the middle. Like, you got a lot of value what you're bringing to people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I almost position myself like the master broker or the note broker we spoke about earlier, to where I'm the professional in the middle. Now I have a bankroll, right? Because I have that capital fund. I've established that and have that running. And then now I can go out and get this inventory and not have to worry about the financing part of it, because the financing is already built. And so it just becomes a lot easier for me to be able to take down deals, and not just one at a time, but obviously multiples at a time as well, which is a good way to help people, liquidate some of their inventory, because they don't just want to sell one deal. They usually have 3 or 4 of these as well.
All right. So I want to kind of circle back now to really kind of like, when somebody's listening to you, mm-hmm. You're now giving them a pretty advanced version. You're a 7-year veteran in the business. You've done a lot of deals. You've been a Note School poster child, and different things that you've done. But let's go back to somebody that's just a busy realtor, or somebody that's a real estate investor that has some rentals and wondering about, could they make more money if they just seller financed or whatever. Like, let's just start with talking about some baby steps for just a moment. Okay. Like, what does that look like for them?
Well, it comes down to kind of what you've been keying on this whole time is really, what's their want? What's the one thing that they value the most? And it's typically their time, especially if they have a family, it's definitely their time. And kind of tuning in to exactly, like, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to be very passive? Are you trying to be a little bit passive, a little bit active? Are you trying to be fully active? And then once you establish that, you can kind of go anywhere in the note business that you want. And I just see a ton of opportunity, as you mentioned before, about, especially if you're a realtor, with seller financing and being able to be more creative with your buyers and your sellers.
Decide your desire first, and then build your business around it.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about your why. I always say, what about your wants? And so I know that I don't want to work for somebody. I know that I want to have a flexible schedule. And I know that I want to be in the real estate, finance business, which is note investing. And so I'm able to achieve those things because I knew what my wants were.
There's a lot of wisdom in that. Figure out what you want and design your life around it.
Yeah.
Joe, did you write that down?
I did. Figure out what you want and design your life around it. Very, very good, Justin. I been friends with Justin for 7 years now, and feel like he's, my little brother, and we're very, very proud of you and what you've been able to accomplish and why you did it. Right. I mean, from the very first, you had those little girls who are now in the 5th and 7th grade.
Yeah.
And you've got to spend time with them. And, one of the things that we say all the time is, with this business, you do the work one time and you get paid for a long time.
It's a pretty neat concept.
And I remember, I know Eddie does too, I remember exactly that slide: the bird dog, the wholesaler, the fix and flipper, the landlord, and then the guy, right, with the wagon full of money. Yep, for sure. That affected a lot of people, right? So we appreciate you, brother.
Well, thank you very much.
Justin, I think you're
at Note Expo.
Yes, I will be, definitely. I already got my ticket.
Justin, I think that what you said today could be very impactful to people that are listening.
Good.
We just, you know, not only Note School, but the audience, we want to thank you for sharing. You're being really open with us, telling us that you really had some, you know, seemingly you had some pretty big barriers. You needed to be at home a certain time in the day in an inordinate amount. And you made, as you said, you knew what you wanted, and you built your life and your business around that. And just pretty cool story. I've always appreciated you and your love for your commitment and your love for your family to do that first. And I would say that when you figured that out, then all of a sudden you found great success doing it that way.
Yeah.
And it was fun too. Still is fun.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. I don't meet a whole lot of burnout note people. I've met a whole bunch of burnout landlords.
Yeah, that's
Just
a good point.
You know, Justin, after a lot of the deal labs that we do, you know, we do 3 a week, and Eddie and I'll call, and we'll just laugh and say, oh, not laugh, saying, you know, this is so much fun. We enjoy it so much. And it is, it certainly moves you forward and just keeps you going. So,
well, I have to say that your guys' energy and you continually educate us, especially on, you know, deal labs and all the unique ways that we can help each other out in this business, whether you're on the buying side or the selling side or the creating side or the brokering side. It just amazes me how much knowledge you guys continue to pour into us, and then how much you guys are both learning as well with different things. And we all know different, you know, legislation in different states. And it's just, the community is so big, and it's so bountiful with knowledge. It's unmatched.
Well, Justin, no matter how old you are, the law of nature says if you stop growing, something else starts happening.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Justin, you're awesome, dude. We love you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Love
All
you guys too.
All right. I will wrap it up, guys. Well, there's another one in the books. So we're going to have a little celebration here. 1st of October, we will be celebrating our 3rd year of being with you guys every week at 11:05 Central Time. So we're going to have a little special, something we're going to do for that episode. It'll be in first week of October. Also, guys, we'd love to have you in one of our 2-hour master classes done by, well, Mr. Eddie Speed and Mr. Max Keller, who is our chief market officer. It's 2 hours. We do them very often. And Eddie, you know, has made you a deal that you cannot refuse. You come and we'll take care of your ticket, right? Or he'll take care of your ticket. So anyway, to learn more about what we do at Note School, to attend one of our 2-hour master classes, simply go to noteschool.com/TV, noteschool.com/TV. And in the subject line, just put a question or put, hey, we'd love to attend a masterclass. How do we do it? So that's it for this week. As Eddie said earlier, we will see you next week, same place, same time, with our monthly update. And it's going to be difficult because there's a lot going on, and we got a lot of stuff to pare down to get it done in 30 to 40 minutes. So we'll work hard on that. You guys take care of yourself, stay cool, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 11:05. Bye now.